Wonder Woman 1984 isn't my favorite movie, but there are some objectively good things about it, and I'm going to talk about that right now. Hey, welcome everybody, my name is Greg, and on my channel I defend all of the nerdy movies and TV shows that you like that the internet says you shouldn't, because on this channel, your fandom matters. In Wonder Woman 1984, we actually start off with the Themyscira scene. Now, being in Themyscira is already great to begin with, but the action sequence is basically so much fun, even though it's an 11-minute sequence. And I actually thought it did a good job at setting the theme after Diana decides to take a shortcut and cheat in the Amazon version of Guts. She's told that taking shortcuts and cheating is actually not the way to go, and that she's going to have to pay for it later. Jump all the way to 1984, where we see Wonder Woman breaking up a robbery in place, which is nice to see her actually continuing to be a superhero, even though it seemed to be hinted that she went underground and hid for all the decades following World War I. It's nice to see that she kept being a hero. And this scene, I think, actually sets the tone. Where the first scene sets the theme of the movie, this one sets the tone of what it's going to be like, which is a Richard Donner type Superman style film. It's actually a love letter to all of those kind of over-the-top cheesy movies from that era. We're also introduced to a character named Dr. Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig, and she is one of Diana's co-workers, and she's a real nerd. And I understand that it might be a little cliche and over the top with the way that she's designed, with the way that she's portrayed as a nerd, with the frizzy hair and the big glasses and tripping over and nobody's helping her. But if this is truly like a love letter to those earlier Superman films, this kind of fits in, being very obvious. And also Kristen Wiig, I think, actually does a really good job. We're also introduced to the villain of the movie, Max Lord, an over-the-top cheesy villain played by Pedro Pascal. Again, this guy is a lot like a Lex Luthor, or even a villain from like Adam West's Batman. It's very cool to see this type of tribute being made through characters like this. And also Pedro Pascal, still very good in the role. And Max Lord has a very reasonable motivation. He wants to impress his son. He's a failure at business, but he wants to show his son that he can still be a success. So he takes the Dreamstone. The Dreamstone is an artifact that Dr. Minerva and Diana discover, and what it does is it grants wishes, but it takes something back. It's like a monkey's paw in that sense. So Minerva and Diana each make a wish. Barbara wants to be more like Diana, which, it makes sense because she, has established this relationship and she looks up to her. And Diana wishes for Steve Trevor, even though she doesn't say that out loud. And that's kind of sweet, a nice continuation from the first movie, and really sets up the arc that Wonder Woman's going to go through. After Max Lord takes the Dreamstone, he wishes to become it, and he actually gains all the powers. Now, like I said, the Dreamstone actually grants wishes, but it also takes something away from you. So, Steve Trevor comes back, but he's in the body of someone else. By the way, I understand, super creepy, very weird. Not going to say that's a good thing. It's kind of very Black Mirror-ish. Barbara Minerva wishes to be Diana, but she gains the powers that Wonder Woman possesses, but she also starts losing her humanity. Max Lord is able to grant wishes, but he is forced to grant wishes, and by granting wishes, he actually starts destroying himself, even with all the success that he gets. He travels to Egypt to basically steal a ruler's oil fields, and Diana and a resurrected Steve Trevor decide to chase after him. Now, this is where they find a plane to steal, and while yes, it doesn't make sense why Steve Trevor would be able to fly a plane, we still get a very cool fan service out of this because Diana actually learns to make the plane invisible, and we get her invisible jet. Now, I know that maybe we didn't know about this power before, but if you remember from the first movie, Diana was still discovering what her powers were. That type of stuff was hinted at throughout the whole film. So she's still discovering all of her powers. She still can't control them all. And even though she knows she can do it, it's still a struggle, and she says that she's never done this before. Either way, cool fan service, don't really have a problem with that. And when they're in Egypt, very cool action scene. I really like the sequence, and Diana actually sees the cost of bringing someone back because as her powers wane, she actually becomes more vulnerable. But now we see the dilemma that she's in. In order to keep Steve Trevor around, she is going to lose her powers. Diana and Steve team up with Barbara to try and take down Max Lord. Now, Barbara during this time has actually been losing her humanity. She's been attacking people. Now, again, the person she attacked totally deserves it, but it's completely outside of the character that we know of as Barbara, because she's starting to lose who she is. She likes this power, she likes this attention, she likes everything that she's gained from this wish. And so when Steve and Diana actually say, we need to stop him, she's like, why would I do that? So it's a very relatable motivation for her, and a really good reason for her to turn on him, which she does later on. Because Max Lord goes to the White House, and when he goes to the White House, he asks the president what his deepest wish is. The president says he wants more nukes. That also makes sense from a story perspective because it's still during the Cold War. United States and Russia still hate each other. Makes a lot of sense. And as Max Lord is starting to lose his mind and want more wishes, he actually discovers this technology being developed that would allow him to connect to every single person on the planet, and he decides he needs to go there. Diana and Steve try to stop him and they fail, and part of the reason was that Barbara interfered and actually showed how powerful she actually can be. Leave the White House, they actually see all of the chaos that Max's wishes have been doing to people, but what they do learn is that people can rescind their wishes and they will go away. But Diana is given this emotional choice now because Steve implores her to let him go in order to get her powers back. And it's a very emotional scene, and it's this very interesting piece because what we like to see out of characters is choices, and Diana makes a really good choice here, the right choice. And we get a really cool scene of her basically swinging from lightning bolt to lightning bolt, which from a story perspective does make sense because she is technically the daughter of Zeus. Barbara goes along with Max Lord and asks for another wish, and she wants to be an apex predator because she wants to be better than Diana. Diana ends up going to this island and is then confronted by Barbara Minerva, who has now become Cheetah. We get a kind of a bad CGI fight, but it's a superhero movie. I'm not going to pull bad CGI fights. There have been other superhero movies that have had bad CGI fights, so, you know, whatever. After Diana stops him, she actually confronts Max Lord, who has basically achieved what he wanted to achieve. Now, what happens next is a little bit more creative than most superhero movies. A lot of superhero movies have the big sky beam, or they have the big CGI army, or they have the superhero fighting the villain who with the same power set. This is a little different in that Diana actually has to convince people to give up their wishes for the good of the world. And it's where kind of the whole theme ties back together, is in this part where Diana actually has to convince others not to take the shortcut. She ends up defeating Max Lord and saving the day, and we're given this nice hopeful message in the end. If you really like Wonder Woman and want to see some of the other things that she's done, I made a video with a bunch of different suggestions that you can check out right up here. And I will see you in that next video.